Ladies and gentlemen, I am Pronogo, and actually my name says TTQ upper number 3, but that's because we're going to be casting a match between 3Crow and JujiK for the Tyrant's Tale qualifier. There can be only 2 qualified players to make it into the main stage event. We're going back to bracket-style tournaments instead of the group stage ones for a change. How are you feeling today, Mesk?
Well, better than I was yesterday. I did notice that you only said 2 threes, however. We need a third 3 in here for 3, which is 3. Mm-hmm.
Well, on my screen, there's 3 for 3Crow. There's number 3 in my name and number 3 in the game name. So I think that counts as 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that does count. Yeah, that is 3 threes.
All right. All right.
Well, have I ever seen JujiK play? I don't think so.
Not sure. Not sure. He's a little bit of a newcomer relative to, you obviously had to leave and then came back. And so you've been catching up on some of the old tournament games, but also some of the silly antics of other people. This will be one of your first times casting a match that is being played live on the current release patch at the moment. So that'll be kind of interesting. Obviously,
and
you have to...
map too.
Right, that's right. Cold Sweat by Veek. It was selected by 3Crow. I'll get into the pick ban here, but let's ask our players if they are indeed ready. Well, 3Crow is waiting to send that message. And we'll wait for JujiK to confirm.
Too calculated.
Yeah, he as soon as he saw the message pop up, he hit enter. He was like hand hovered over the enter key. We'll see if he can be as poised for victory in his actual matches. You do have to give it to 3Crow. By the way, his seed in this tournament is 3. So I thought that was really good. He's the third highest ranked player, if you will. And
the simulation has many layers.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And so, in general, it's been an interesting time watching some people play their opening matches. JujiK has already defeated Dino Man 44. You were just telling me about a game between him and Smarty. I guess he's Smarty's friend in real life. Yep. So they're bridging the gap here, bringing more people aboard. And JujiK has come in and defeated him, I believe, 2-0. And it looks like now we are ready to get us started. So let's see what Cold Sweat has in store for us. This is a new map by Veek 7. And we'll have 3Crow here, as I'm going to call the Ultramarine Protoss in the top left. It is indeed that. With JujiK being the... Could it be just green Protoss in the bottom right? Oh my god. Well, you know what? I've redeemed myself. One of the first things you'll notice about this map, Mesk, is that in the top right and the bottom left, we have Crucibles and Hatcherosks. So that's neutral stuff for you to be able to put like some pocket, I guess you could put like a pocket Larvosk or something. I'm trying to think about what you could use the Kagra for from Zerg's POV. But in general, you can use that to power stuff. And, well, look at this. I thought 3Crow might be doing it already, but he's actually just sending a very early scout.
I was going to say, what are the chances both players just build nothing but Vassals for literally the entire game? And it definitely seems like Kian is up to something semi-cheesy. No structure yet. His opponent looks like he's only just going to start making a pylon soon. Got some money. Yeah,
I wonder if JujiK is trying to play the classic trick where he goes for the the fast ancestral or something. Not ancestral, Grand Library. But he usually puts a gateway down before. So I'm interested in what he wants to do here. He's going to throw down a lattice right in 3Crow's face as the scout arrives.
We're on our way to the Vassal.
Yeah. Oh, 3Crow had a shuffle with his workers as well. So. All right.
It could be all Vassals.
They must have DM'd each other. A little bit of match fixing going on here because they're just like, you know what? Let's just do a handshake game. Since Mesk is going to cast this one, let's give him Vassals. That's
I really hope it's all Vassals. It would be unbelievably stupid.
Yeah.
I kind of expected 3Crow just like to see the lattice and just instantly put a pylon right in front of it. And just start making wardens immediately.
All right.
Just dare him.
You know what? I think if your opponent goes lattice opener, you probably could warden rush, and there's the second lattice there.
Okay.
It is a gateway.
JujiK has broken the handshake. He's got a gateway coming, but there's 2 lattices on 3Crow.
Yes, yeah.
Wait for it.
Vassal.
Yeah, there.
Vassal from JujiK as well. Let's go, baby. We're already entering into the promised land. The Vassals will arrive in swarms and hordes. A little bit of S-Beam being harvested here by 3Crow.
Oh, tickle.
Yeah, the first Vassal's out. Got to keep the tabs on that scribe, lest he... well, he's going to the corner. All right, never mind. He was heading to the no-cuddle corner, but decided to get some cuddles at the very end of it anyway.
It's weird seeing the Vassals move without intense latency.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you have you. I don't think you've played too many matches these days, but you may or may not have noticed that the game is a bit smoother on Crown Link than it was on Radman.
I actually haven't played any at all. So
okay.
I played like versus AI locally for a recording that crashed, as you recall.
Oh yes, that's right.
So
hey, we were able to use that report to fix it, so there is that.
Yeah. Yeah, we did get some out of it. So what I noticed about those bases in the corners is it's 2 ridges and like 5 minerals.
Yes.
So you could take like an early proxy base there, but it's not going to be as efficient as a normal one. Crow cow.
Oh, this is going to be Vassal Barguest. 3Crow going to be echoing Hamster's build. So this is one of the builds that really bamboozled Hapsea in the very first game that they had in, I want to say this was Elimination. Oh no, this would have been the lower match, I believe. Yeah, no, this is Elimination 3 in the match right before the lower final of Acropolis number 2. So it was Hamster versus Hapsea, PvP. And Hamster went this style where he went Vassal Barguest, and he was just controlling the pace of the game, expanding behind it, getting a lot of stuff done. The Vassals are already out, and they can pick this Manifold. JujiK is already in a little bit of trouble with that, but he does have the defenses here. He's going to get heckled on the gas harvesting side.
Yeah, the Vassals ended up passing each other in the middle of the map, just slightly out of sight. So all of JujiK's Vassals were, all 3 of them, by the way, were hanging out in front of 3Crow's base. Well, he also has some own manifolds of his own, so not really a lot to come here, but he could pick the odd worker and forcing out another warden that he might even be able to get to cancel. I think he might be
you know what? These worker picks are actually important because 3Crow was behind by 2 workers despite the early pick that he got. Somehow, he still has 5 Vassals. Is that going to change here? No, he's actually going to get out with all 5 of his Vassals, which means he can pretty easily defeat the 4 that JujiK has if they decide to give chase. So the Vassal Wars alone will not be what JujiK has. And I gotta say, 3Crow adding the pylon, it's not a redundancy one the way that JujiK is set up in the base, but 3Crow's actually kept his money down within reason. He doesn't have anything really queued up either, so it's not like there's any dead money. He does have the double warden, which is a bit of an expense, but he's got a decent amount of units back at home. I do think that 3Crow is going to be able to continue setting the pace. He just has to make sure he doesn't stray from the train scribe button, because otherwise, he's really going to be behind economically the longer the game goes on, just knowing his tendency as a player.
JujiK's making a 3rd warden.
Oh my god.
Another gateway and another pylon. So even if 3Crow can't like bust this wall of shit inside of his base, he definitely has control over the pacing of the map, because if JujiK decides to move out, which he currently is, 3Crow hypothetically can just dive these and possibly get a lot of scribe kills in.
I think this could even be the end of the map right here, Mesk. I mean, we are seeing 13 Vassals with the 2 Barguests. That's going to give them 2 armor penetration when the Barguest decloaks. So they are going to completely negate the armor of the Wardens, as well as being able to do a lot more building damage. And they're hugging the bottom strip.
Attacks first, though. He could end up pulling 3Crow back across the map, but I don't know. I think he's too close. They're
both going to do it at the same exact time almost. Here's the Warden focus. 1 Vassal's already fallen. There's a couple more going. 2 Barguests staying alive here. There's 1 Warden left standing for JujiK. He has sniped the pylon on the other side, so it's just going to be the couple of units that are coming out of these structures for 3Crow, who has started to float up a little bit.
There is a Vagrant there. He's going to be popped pretty early, and 1 Barguest that's still alive. But the Manifolds are falling. There is a Warden here that's getting a few important kills off. Every individual unit counts here because he's not really going to be able to replenish them. He's got a couple of extra units leaving his base and kind of floundering around.
He's going after that pylon. He doesn't realize that the second one up there is going to keep it powered. So that's a little bit unfortunate there for JujiK. But that being said, the battle workers are going to have to come out. The Nexus is about to get popped, and JujiK, he doesn't have enough resources to rebuild it. He has to go mine from the Acherosk if he wants to harvest resources again.
I think he was a little flustered because he kept firing at that new pylon that was being warped in. In the meantime, the battle workers started tickling everything. The Warden got another kill in, and he's regrouped his attack force here. And I mean, 3Crow has no production active at the moment, but there is still. He just focuses the Warden. He might be able to put a little bit of a stop. But when we look at the production queues for 3Crow, there's 2 units that are just about to finish the instant that this pops up.
GG has to be called. 3Crow winning a very silly and exciting game to kick our series off, Mesk. That's the
almost
kind of
turned
thing
into a
that I
base
like.
trade. It was very, very close.
It was very close. That's the kind of style we like to see. Well, boys, that does mean that we'll be moving to map 2. This one we did a little bit different. We actually have picks for the series, so I'll walk you through the pick ban since that game got very silly very fast. I wasn't even able to to talk about the pick ban. But so the way that we do the pick ban now is that we have the higher seed ban the first map, then the lower seed bans a map, and then 3Crow, in this case the higher seed, picks the opener, while JujiK picked the map 2. So this is going to be JujiK's map pick. Because he had the higher seed, 3Crow was able to select the decider map at the end of the next rotation of bans. And we are going to Rageslave here, a 3-spawn map adaptation of Neo Rush Hour, requested by none other than Hit 'em Up. So we will have some interesting stuff here. They are going to be a little bit on the closer side. If you get vertical spawns, it's a little bit longer of a distance. But this map is pretty compact. I don't think you'll see too many late games on this map. So
Shambler was asking me about the 3-player maps, and I was like, you guys are making 3-player maps.
That's right.
Now here they all are, I guess.
It's mostly
that just came out very recently.
That's right.
You were actually working on it yesterday, right?
I updated a little bit of it. Yeah, just improved a couple of things about, like, I standardized the resources. Originally, I was experimenting with it having one less mineral field in the mains and naturals than the other maps, but I decided, just for the sake of player comfort, since that's like a pretty new thing, and we decided we wanted it in the map pool, that's a thing where it was basically one of those things where, like, okay, we're gonna make it standard, so at least that aspect of it is kind of normal. But it does play very differently to the other maps. 3Crow is going to scout his opponent first, but that's okay. That's not really the end of the world. I do think that in the future, if we wanted to make a map like this, and we wanted it to be like a little bit more open for middle-of-the-road strategies and macro games, we probably would want you to have slightly wider distances between the mains, which means that the map size probably needs to go up a little bit. Because if you think about it, it's the same map size as a lot of the 2-spawn maps are, but if it has 3 spawns, well, there's going to be a pretty high chance that you're going to be closer to your enemy, right? So in this particular case, they did get the close spawn sort of RNG on the rolls. And look at that, 3Crow tickling the pylon as the gateway warps in. But 3Crow is not deterred. A lattice is halfway to completion.
I'm still waiting to see the double worker pylon all in.
Right? Well, I'm thinking with Masons, you can repair. With Scribes, you can restore shields. There's a couple of things you can do there. I think especially
I like that when you mentioned the Larvosk, though.
Yes.
I think that's also realistic because you don't have to commit them both to it all the time.
Yeah.
Because they won't regenerate nearly as fast.
Yep.
So there could be something really dirty, like if you just know what your opponent's going to do.
We have seen pool into Kagran since then as evoking a strategy a little bit, maybe a little bit safer because the pool pops sooner. You can get those defenders. But yeah, we'll see. I'm sure there'll be some Zerg matches we can cast.
I was saying, if you know what your opponent's going to do, and like I just looked over to 3Crow's base and I just see the double lattice and the Vassal popping out.
Yes.
And annihilating me. But it seems like JujiK might be on to the shenanigans, and there is a Hierophant on the way, in addition to his own 2 lattices.
Okay, this is interesting. So 3Crow's gone for the fast Warden. I think he's worried about some sort of gateway aggression. Because, the Vassals can attack, like, say, Zealots, but Zealots take forever for Vassals to kill. However, it will be the Hierophant opener, and that is pretty good at shutting down the Vassals. So,
yeah,
I don't
need
think...
a lot of them.
Yeah, it's going to take...
Like these early ones here, he could easily lose them both if he's not careful.
Yeah. Well, there's a Vassal for JujiK as well, so as soon as this gets tagged, you got to start walking away, and I'm not sure it's going to be able to get out there. A little bit of Kite Micro. Yep, that should be it. Oh, no. Oh, there you go. Moving shot works out. All right. Good day to you, sir, as the other Vassal flies away. There's a really cool move.
Hypothetically beat this, but there is an Ecclesiast coming next.
Yes, and that's really hard because actually the weapon range, or the proc range for the Ecclesiast's passive is 3, the same range as the Vassal, and the same number as 3Crow. So,
that's attack range.
Oh, for the Vassal? No. Oh, yeah, the
for the Ecclesiast.
Ecclesiast. Yeah, the proc range for its passive is 3.
But
so
see, the thing, because of flinging movement, the Vassals are likely to enter that 3 range anyway.
Yep. Well, I mean, the Vassal has 3 range, so in order for the Vassal to attack the Ecclesiast can get its own sustain off on itself. is sort of what I was saying there. But you know what?
Right.
The Vassal count is pretty damn high, and the Rogue Gallery is coming fast as well. So we'll see if JujiK can adapt. This is his pick, after all. He must have some idea of what's going on. He did play some warm-up games against Arbus.
Too many supports, and it turns into like 30 Vassals. They can put so much damage on a one spot.
Yes.
You won't be able to out-sustain it. And it is Rogue Gallery again as well. Probably be Vargas again, I imagine.
Yeah, that's what the gas must be for. They are a bit expensive on the Vespene side, so something that you have to save up for. This composition can actually do pretty good work. We saw that with the fact that they got so much work done versus the Wardens. Now, the Vassal count is still in favor of 3-Crow, and if the ground army gets async from the air army like they are right now, I think JujiK could be in a real pain point.
You don't want to split up, because he could be hanging outside your base. You don't know that.
Yes.
You don't know that he only built Vassals. If he springs on those ground units, and they don't have the Vassals with them, there's like just a handful of them. He can get so much damage in, but it's the Vassals that tickle him first, and he manages to regroup without losing anything. So
the one Barghest is important here because the Hierophant has 1 armor. That's going to be completely negated. Everything else has 0 armor. And the Hierophant is one of the targets you really want to try to pick if you can. Now, there are a lot of Vassals here for 3-Crow and for JujiK as well. There goes the Hierophant immediately. And yes, the Pylon does end up dying, but there was a redundancy. So did JujiK overcommit on that? He's only got 5 Vassals left, and it's dropping stupendously.
The Vassals just picked off the ground army one by one.
Yep.
And 3-Crow came out with most of his units left still. Now JujiK's kind of in the same spot he was before, except he doesn't have 3 Wardens guarding his base now. So it's even more vulnerable. He has to pull everything back. He does have an idol. If he can keep making idols and sustain this attack and then have like 4 or 5 of them left after, he should be pretty safe. But his units are not in position to defend. The tickling has begun. The scribes are dying and screaming and dying and burning.
All right, there's the idol focused down almost immediately. A lot of the Vassals are softened up. He needs to get his combat units coming out of the production onto this fight, but he can't do it. Nope. He calls GG. This is a style he was not prepared for, and JujiK is going to fall to the lower bracket, 2-0. 3-Crow is going to face off against Veek7 in a best-of-3 next. That is a very
lightning
fast
match. RTS games we were talking about a while ago.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I think both of the matches were about, they're certainly under 10 minutes, so I definitely...
I think the other one was like 7 something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And this one was 6:11 or something like that. They were both pretty fast.
Yes, pretty rough stuff there for our boy JujiK. And you know what? That kind of style, I think that has legs versus Terran. I think that has legs... Maybe without the Barghest, you probably don't need it versus Zerg, unless maybe like there's a lot of Spraits or something. But honestly, I could see 3-Crow at least pulling a match versus Veek. I mean, the question is, like, what did JujiK really do wrong? There might be a question we could ask ourselves. And one of them is definitely didn't itemize for AoE. And I think the attack, when he attacked, it was probably something that he should have fallen back with a little bit.
He thwarted the little harass and was like, okay, I can move out now. But it wasn't... Like, he still didn't really have a lot of damage. He had sustain, but
yes.
You can't really out-sustain them like that.
No, I mean, when the focus fire comes in, what you have to try to do is see if you can split their damage up somehow by pulling back the targeted unit. You have to have, like, an intuition for what's going to be targeted first, and the Hierophant makes a lot of sense there. The Ecclesiasts to try to sustain. Those are also good targets for the Vassal player. One thing I am picking up on out of what JujiK did is he obviously focused in on that pylon, thinking, if I shut down his production, it'll be like the last game, except I won't have a bunch of Vassals in my base killing my stuff, so I'll be ahead. But neglected that secondary pylon, maybe didn't see it, didn't scout deep enough to see. But even if that was the case, I mean, sure, you shut down the production, but you don't have any kill threat on the army, so how can you really leverage that into a winning position? That's a question for JujiK to think about, because I think if he gets past the early stages of the game, JujiK is probably a stronger macro player, might even have comparable, if different, compositional strength compared to 3-Crow, who obviously knows the game, has been playing it for a while, but always falls down in the macro departments, generally speaking, at least if you look at his history. So if we were expecting that to hold through, obviously 3-Crow himself could have improved and practiced up in the meantime, just like JujiK also practiced against Arbus and some other players trying to get some PvP in him. It's interesting, and the fact that 3-Crow is going to move forward, I don't know about his odds versus Veek. I'm just saying Veek can't sleep on this guy and be like, yeah, I got this guy in the bag. Because these kinds of early game strategies, I mean, 3-Crow doesn't have to worry about being, not so good at the macro stages once the game hits like 10, 15 minutes if we never get there. So that's another thing that 3-Crow's got in his back pocket, I think.
I mean, Mass Vassals works pretty well. You showed that Mass Vassals can fight against Cyclops, Magical, Cleric,
Yeah.
Shaman. Like,
Yep.
the macro of the other player was pretty strong, and you were able to hold it off for a really long time, literally building nothing but Vassals and then
That's right.
defenses. So it definitely does a lot, and you cannot underestimate how much damage they can put into a small area because of air stacking. So you have to be kind of careful about that. And I don't think Wardens are even the good defense to get against that. I think that if you're stuck in this situation, you're really just better off getting an engram, because the AoE, like if he's so committed into Vassals at that point, the engram cost is almost worth it just to shut it down and then counterattack. You don't really want to attack while they're all up, because when you think about the trade, when he goes in the base and focuses the pylon, all that initial damage is a substantial number of Vassal kills.
Yes.
Except now, by the time you switch off the pylon because it's died, you've lost your DPS. You've lost a lot of your support. You've lost your sustain, because he's been putting all that damage onto your units. So now your army is not even like half as strong as it could have been, fighting his army that hasn't been depleted at all. So definitely didn't really want to like dive into there and force onto the pylon while the army was still up.
Yeah, I guess maybe one thing, also thinking back to Cold Sweat, something JujiK probably could have tried to do is maybe pan like his vassals out early to try to get a beat on where Three Crow's army was by scouting around with them.
He kind of did, but they went past each other.
Right, yeah. And I'm thinking like the fact that he just left on both maps, he left with his whole army kind of at the same time down the same path, not really covering all his bases for where the counterattack could be coming from. It didn't work out in game 2 because the army was at home, but it didn't work out in game 1 because the army was able to get into a favorable position. Whereas,
Yeah, he took kind of a longer route to
Right.
go around and then underneath the net, and there was no eyes there. So it just kind of like slipped up under his mineral line, and then, yeah, that was pretty much it.
Well, that concludes our recording for this particular match. We will have many more to come, and Ozlix is uploading a bunch himself. If you want to see those, make sure you're in our Discord server where he posts them. So far, they've been unlisted, so I'm not sure they'll be publicly released on YouTube. But Mesk, thank you for joining me, and for sure, there will be more matches to commentate, and hopefully they're just as silly with Vassals and everything else that we've come to know and love in this game. But I suspect we're going to get into the serious stuff once these upper matches continue. So until then, GG's.
Some serious Vassals.